it's such a busy job, and it's very intense, and you spend a very large amount of time with very few people and not much else. And we've all spent a lot of time isolated and with screens. And I think like even teaching them to be able to lean on each other for things outside the game, and like, it's not like I don't think a 4-year degree like gave me the ability to talk to people about their feelings and listen, like even teaching them to do it with each other or encouraging a certain player. Okay, I can tell a player's dealing with something where I feel like they have a connection with a different player on the team, or that player on the team might be able to relate. I can encourage a player to reach out to their teammate and check in. And, it ends up being a team where we can rely on each other. And I also think players being able to have those moments with each other like builds the connection a lot too.
Hey everyone, Sejitsun here. I'm here with Sentinels head coach Kaplan after today's series against Crew. So, just initial thoughts on that series today against Crew. I think a lot of people had pegged Sentinels as kind of favorites, but then it kind of became a 2-0 series. Do you think that was primarily off of just Crew playing extremely well, or do you feel like it was kind of some shortcomings from Sentinels?
They're a really good team. I think they're the other strongest team in our group, I would guess. And they showed up today, but there was definitely plenty of shortcomings on our end that we feel like caused us to lose, at least that badly.
Do you feel like it was more like the microplay shortcomings, or do you think it was more so feeling a little lost about like what's like the game plan or kind of how we want to treat each round? I
think just the way we played the game very fundamentally in terms of our energy. Like we were definitely Lotus defense was fine. We had a plan. I guessed they would play something similar to that comp. We talked about how to deal with it, and I think we were just like small protocols were missing, which is going to happen when you don't have a lot of time, and that's all right. Like we were pretty happy with 6 rounds. I was anyway, but the way the attack half snowballed, like we were just very kind of hesitant. It's the type of game where if you take too long to have an idea or you don't play on your terms, like you're not proactive, you just get crushed because of the way the utility is. And it really felt like there was a lot of like second guessing, questions, standing around, just like waiting for the game to kind of come to us. And you can't play like that in this meta. And we just got punished for it.
It's like over time, there's more indecisiveness starting to build up as the series went on.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of indecision or just like, which decision do we take, or just no attempt at a decision or doing anything at all in spots where you cannot have no decision, let alone take more than 3 seconds to decide on one. It's just like a confidence kind of flow thing as a team. It's a really punishing video game for that reason. Like you can have as much prep as you want, but you end up in weird spots when you play Valorant, and spots you haven't been in before, and you have to be able to think on your toes, and like that's very intertwined with confidence. Like if you're not willing to think on your toes and trust yourself, you can't be anybody, no matter what kind of team you are.
With your background and like there being like the therapist stuff and like psychology, I'm curious, when it comes to indecision, do you feel like the best way to move forward through these things is for players to, like focus on themselves mentally, or do you feel like you can fix indecisiveness more by running through similar scenarios like through game?
No, I think people have to work on it individually. Like it's definitely a team thing too. We've been there plenty of times. In fact, that's something I've been talking to them about is like, we can work on these things as a team. We can take some accountability as a team. Obviously, look out for each other, gas each other up. Like, make sure in the comms you sound, fake it till you make it. Like, people feed off each other emotionally. Everyone here is emotionally intelligent. Your responsibility extends beyond just playing the game. That's something we worked like a ton on in kickoff. But it only goes so far, and people have to also understand like how did they show up individually? Like, what did they do the night before or in the past week or that morning? Like, where were their own emotions at going into the game? It's also everyone's individual responsibility. Obviously, I'm there to help them, but you have to be introspective and like recognize that you have a job to show up and bring the correct confidence in yourself. Like, they're all incredible. So, yeah.
That's actually something I'm curious about, because at least I've spoken to most of the Sentinels players throughout the career, and compared to like the field, each player usually comes off across very emotionally intelligent. When you were like kind of building and roster constructing, how important was a player's like emotional quotient and ability to process like losses and improve from it for you when, saying, all right, you're a fit for Sen?
Yeah, it was very important to me, definitely. Like, I spent a lot of time talking with both the players we ended up signing, among other players, and yeah, I think it's a very. I don't have experience playing every esport, but I've played a lot of genres, and you can get an inside look at a lot of genres. Yeah, exactly. I think Valorant is like, it's so much about finding a flow as a team, being creative, like thinking on the fly. It's just amazing at its best, but it's very punishing to lacking those things. When you have players that can't work through those problems and don't have the emotional intelligence to grow, it can just feel like a plateau that's hard to break through. I mean, it definitely has its downsides too, right? Like we're all pretty emotional in the team, and that can be a blessing and a curse. But the upside, I think, is tremendous of having such a smart group.
Mm-hmm. Now, I kind of wanted to ask you with that. After Bangkok, you had, I want to say like 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks before the start of stage 1. So how did you go about the past 2.5 weeks? How much was divided between having some time to rest and, have players' mentals reset versus, just having to adjust to like a new meta with like, or just adjust into like game stuff that you needed to focus on?
Yeah. Definitely, we had like about a week to rest, maybe a little bit less, and then I asked them each to watch back our games with face cams and comms to kind of ponder and reflect on what needs to happen differently after Bangkok. And then we met as a team, and then the last couple of weeks, we've been taking it a little bit easier. We're still scrimming a lot of days, but the days are a little bit shorter, trying to get everyone to be able to put time in outside the game to taking care of themselves, being a little bit patient, like remembering to have fun with it. If you're just work, incredibly high standard all the time, like, and you're a new team, like you're just setting yourself up for failure. So we've been taking a little bit easier, and the practices have more been focused on like how we communicate with each other and fundamentals of gameplay. Luckily, the meta didn't change a ton, so we didn't have to cook up like a ton of new comps. I mean, we're definitely playing it safe on some comps, and I'm sure people can tell.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, when you kind of have like a very busy period, well, because Sentinels qualifies for like a bunch of events, right? Yeah. So when you have a very, very busy period and you kind of notice your players maybe not as sharp as they were maybe like at the start when they're a little more fresh. Yeah. Is there more emphasis on one-on-one meetings with those players or to help them reset, or is it more focused on just kind of focusing more on like the macro team aspects and then giving them the space to relax and detach?
Yeah, when it comes to like individual form, I think the best thing you can do is just give them time off and talk with them about how they can best use that time off to reset. And then there's also just points in scrim days where it's just like a lot of a coach is being able to set the example in terms of being patient and detached from results. Because like if you're on your 6th scrim day in a week, you're not going to be shooting straight. Like it's not the same as a match. There's no adrenaline and you're tired. But detaching from results and going, okay, well, we might have whiffed or whatever, but was the situation good? Was the goal we had set for today, did we achieve it in this round? Like just hammering that. I think one-on-ones as a coach come mostly into play when we're deep into practice weeks or like practice months, because resentment and frustration and feelings just tend to build up. And I think that's the biggest reason for one-on-ones. It's just like, obviously they need to get it out to the team, but like having a buffer of being able to get it out to their coach to start is, I think, helpful.
I'm curious because I've read just a lot of different pieces, and a lot of people have highlighted like you have a really strong emotional quotient, and you prioritize building player relationships with each and everyone individually. How important do you feel it is to have a base relationship with each player as individuals in order to kind of come to resolutions and kind of continue growing? Do you feel like a lot of teams can kind of falter from that aspect and just solely focus on, you need to do this better, but what you're like outside of this, I don't really care what you do?
Yeah, I think that's something that's pretty underrated in esports, and it's really important to me. Like, my job is to be the head coach of the team, and that includes a lot of different hats, and I can't perfectly put on the hat of someone like a therapist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed to be one, and their head coach can't be one. So sometimes I'm telling them, hey, how are things going outside of the game, and even maybe encouraging them to reach out to other people in their life who might be more appropriate to talk those things about. But at the end of the day, like it's such a busy job, and it's very intense, and you spend a very large amount of time with very few people and not much else. And we've all spent a lot of time isolated and with screens. And I think like even teaching them to be able to lean on each other for things outside the game, and like, it's not like I don't think a 4-year degree like gave me the ability to talk to people about their feelings and listen, like even teaching them to do it with each other or encouraging a certain player. Okay, I can tell a player's dealing with something where I feel like they have a connection with a different player on the team, or that player on the team might be able to relate. I can encourage a player to reach out to their teammate and check in. And, it ends up being a team where we can rely on each other. And I also think players being able to have those moments with each other like builds the connection a lot too.
I just have 2 more questions, but I guess just a follow-up to that. Seems like by the way you describe it, it seems like it's a lot of balancing between things that need to be worked on with game, with working on players individually, and kind of just making sure everything's in line so that they're not burnt out or falling behind and just like practice and things like that. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is just making sure they're speaking their mind to each other. Like not everyone's going to come into the team with a mountain of sports experience or work experience or relationship experience where they're used to speaking their mind to each other. My job is not to be the end of where they share their feelings and go solve it for them, or just be, oh, you vented it and now it's done. But I think a big part of my job is to make sure they have a space where they can initially share things, and then I can maybe work with the team or help them to be able to get those things out to the team, and just trying to teach them to be blunt with each other.
Okay, so final question is just moving forward with the team. Let's just kind of take it smaller for, I guess, split one regular season, which is like 3 weeks. What are the goals that you have, and what do you kind of want to focus on in the team so that you can call this a success and then move forward and, bounce back and be like the number 1 team in the world for playoffs? Yeah,
I mean, I think the biggest thing is like I really believe in the process we've had the last few weeks, the growth the guys have had the last few weeks, and today was a misstep. Like we definitely didn't show up. And I said in the middle of the series, I don't care if we win or lose the series, but like I do care if we don't show up and we don't play how we deserve to play, like how, at our best, and like believe in ourselves. And I didn't see that today, but like we're still on a really good track and we can be better. It's just about consistency. Like I don't want us to overreact. I don't want the guys to lose confidence. I want them to gain it. And it's not easy to gain confidence after a loss, but like that's my biggest goal right now is let's just stay, chugging away at this and believe we're on a really good track. It was just a bumpy day, and it's up to us how we use that.
Awesome, Kaplan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.